Chapter 9, Lesson 7, Graph and Analyze Relationships. The first problem says, Sasha is making hot cocoa for a party. For each mug of cocoa, he uses 3 tablespoons of cocoa mix and 6 fluid ounces of hot water. If Sasha uses an entire 18 tablespoon container of cocoa mix, how many fluid ounces of water will he use? Let's look at the questions on the right. It asks, how many tablespoons of cocoa mix does Sasha add for each mug of cocoa? If you look back at the problem, it says that Sasha adds 3 tablespoons of cocoa mix. The next question asks, how many fluid ounces of water does Sasha add for each mug of cocoa? Again, if you look back at the problem, it says he uses 6 fluid ounces of water. Look at step 1. Use the 2 given rules in the problem to generate the first 4 terms for the number of tablespoons of cocoa mix and the number of fluid ounces of water. Let's start with the cocoa mix. Each time, Sasha's adding by 3. So we start with 3, next comes 6, 9, 12. Now notice how 15 isn't in the last box. They skipped it and put 18. That'll be important later on. Now let's look at the water. The water we're counting by 6's. So we start 6, 12, 18, 24, and 30 is not next. Because remember how we skipped 15? We have to skip 30. Underneath 18 goes 36. Step 2 asks us to write the ordered pairs. So, they already did the first one. 3, 6, 6, 12, 9, 18, 12, 24. We're going to skip 18, 36 for right now. Step 3 asks us to graph and label the ordered pairs. On this graph, they already put the numbers on it and the labels. So, you'll notice for cocoa mix, our scale is from 3 to 18. And they decided to use intervals of 3. They're counting by 3's. Now look at the water. Our scale is from 6 to 36. Again, they used an interval of 3. Now let's put our numbers on the graph. There's our first point at 3, 6. Then 6, 12, 9, 18, 12, 24. Step 3 again asks us to write a rule. So, how can we relate the cocoa mix to the water? When I look at the cocoa mix to water, I notice that it's going from a smaller number to a bigger number. So our rule must either be adding or multiplying. So from 3 to 6, we could either be adding 3 as our pattern or multiplying by 2 as our pattern. But we can only have one rule. So we have to look at the next ordered pair to see if we're adding by 3 or multiplying by 2. 6 plus 3 is not 12. But 6 times 2 is 12. So if we're not adding, we have to be multiplying by 2. Let's make sure it works for the rest of our points. 9 times 2 is 18. 12 times 2 is 24. So our rule has to be multiply the number of tablespoons of cocoa mix by 2. So, Sasha will use 36 ounces of water if he uses the entire container of cocoa mix, because 18 times 2 is 36, and it follows our pattern. In the question below, it says write the final number pair as an ordered pair. Remember how we skipped it in step 2? It is 1836. Next it says, then graph and label it. Put it on your graph. Next we need to connect our points in a straight line. The question asks, what do the connected points form? When I look at the graph, I see a straight line. The connected points form a straight line. Why is that? Well, the pattern is the y-coordinate is always 2 times as great as the x-coordinate, so the points will always increase by the same amounts, making a straight line.